Hi, this is Free Thinking Through the Fourth Turning. My name is Sasha Stone. All the president's media. The original sin is much worse than Hyde and Biden. Alex Thompson is getting awards and Jake Tapper is getting in the lifeboat. Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson writing an exposé of the conspiracy and cover-up to hide Joe Biden's cognitive decline is like the Watergate burglars writing a book about Nixon's alleged corruption. The conspiracy and cover-up are coming from inside the House. Podcast listeners, a book, Original Sin, President Biden's Decline and Its Cover-Up and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. And a tweet from Joe Concha, "This should totally be in your book too, Alex." And a tweet by Alex Thompson, "Biden's weird phrases are sometimes weaponized by the GOP to insinuate the 80-year-old president is in mental decline. But Biden has been using these unique phrases for years, even as some of his aides remain confused by their meaning." And a headline from The New Yorker, How Joe Biden Handed the Presidency to Donald Trump. At a fateful event last summer, Barack Obama, George Clooney, and others were stunned by Biden's weakness and confusion. Why did he and his advisors decide to conceal his condition from the public and campaign for re-election? A cancer on the presidency. To most of us who aren't inside the bubble of the left, the Tapper-Thompson book looks more like a rescue mission than a mea culpa. They have a book to sell, and they know who their best and most profitable buyers are. People who read The New Yorker with disposable income, who have thrown their money at the Democrats for almost a decade, all with the promise that they'd make the bad orange man go away. What I know after a decade of irresponsible fear-mongering is that the original sin was the moment the left, with all of the power, called itself the resistance, and with the help of a complicit press corps, went to war on a duly elected president and his supporters. Everything that came after that, up to and including Biden's decision to run, was the result of a powerful ruling class that refused to relinquish power, did not respect the voices of the people, and used everything in the kingdom to systematically dehumanize, demonize, and exile the other half of the country, or anyone who did not go along with them. As part of the resistance after the 2016 election, I should have seen who Trump really was, the guy on Celebrity Apprentice, the real estate playboy we knew from the 1980s. But in our collective fever dream, we thought he'd somehow been captured and compromised by Putin and had transformed into an evil fascist, rapist, racist, dictator second only to Hitler. We drew a line. We were on this side, and anyone who voted for, was kind to, or associated with anyone on the other side was kicked out of utopia. We owned everything, so we could raise the drawbridge and forget about everyone else. We cultivated a dystopian fear bunker that policed thought and speech and strictly forbade any truth-telling, lest it hurt the Democrats and helped Trump. That's all they had left, because everything else had failed. So when a crazed lunatic surfer dude believed he was saving democracy, he picked up a gun and tried to shoot Trump. That was proof enough of the damage caused by the once respected legacy press, and it was their original sin. And even after that, a freaked-out, unhinged group of people on TikTok actively call for the assassination of Trump with their "when it happens" and "somebody just do it" memes. Here is a montage of TikTokers.
Already, bro. Just do it. I'm not the hero in this story. You gotta do it. Just do it.
I'm not saying somebody should. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying anyone should. No, I'm not. Couldn't be me. You know what I mean?
Can't we just kill him, shoot him and spill his blood? It's sad that we're at the point where someone can come up here and say, somebody should do it. And we all know what the it is and who to. So just so we're clear, it ain't gonna be me. Don't y'all look at me to do anything. Matter of fact, none of us should be even contemplating it. If anyone's gonna do it, it's one of y'all. Y'all can get this done in a day, if need be. Maybe this week, soon, because I know the one that wants to do it has already thought about it. They're just waiting for our permission. You have mine. Do it. And don't worry, the whole world will be watching, and the whole world will see you as a hero. The whole world will see you as a hero.
Just thought I'd check in and see if it happened yet. Did it happen? Did it happen?
Who's going to take the initiative to do it? I don't care how you do it, just do it.
So when James Comey posts a photo of a message in the sand to 86th, the 47th president, it takes on a different meaning than just a funny joke. He was, after all, the FBI director, and whatever happened with that other shooter in Butler? Their original sin has divided us, polarized us, and worst of all, betrayed our trust far worse than not reporting on the Biden story. Lying about Trump was worse. Making him a supernatural receptacle of all the evil in the world was worse. And they're still out there doing it now, like Lawrence O'Donnell, Tim Miller, Rick Wilson, Rachel Maddow, all the president's media, perpetuating the kind of groupthink via deception that got them into this mess. 10 years of pumping hysteria into the veins of Americans, and what do they have to show for it? Nothing. Selling fear worked for a while, until it didn't. After 10 years of it, with a new generation coming of age that wasn't plugged into cable news or the legacy media, Americans went looking for normalcy that they somehow found in Donald Trump. All anyone had to do was what I did and what so many other people did. Take a look for ourselves at Trump and MAGA. Once we did that, we'd never trust the media ever again. Follow the money. The reason the excerpt in The New Yorker is about George Clooney is for their target audience. Who else would care? Front-loaded with Clooney's journey to Sudan and subsequent charity work seems designed to signal to the reader that the fate of the Democratic Party wasn't up to some actor past his prime. No, he was important. And for a time, he was.
What are you doing here? What are you, George Clooney, doing here? You could be sipping wine in Italy. Yeah. With your friends. And yet you keep coming back to Sudan, whether it's in Darfur or whether it's in South Sudan.
If I said to you right now, 90 days from today, there's going to be an earthquake, that 200,000 people are going to be killed, what would you do? Wouldn't you do everything you could to make the people as safe as possible? If the cameras are going to follow me everywhere I go, then I'm going to go to places that the cameras should be.
Making it harder to kill people because it is going to be in the light of day?
Yeah, I think the light of day is a pretty amazing thing.
Nothing illustrates the disconnect of today's Democratic Party better than the fundraiser in LA that shook Clooney to his core because Joe Biden didn't recognize him. All that money, all that power, all that celebrity was exactly the wrong message to sell to a beleaguered working class sick of the sight of them. His house in the south of France, his big movie for Netflix, his phone call to Julia, and his brush with politics all explain his New York Times op-ed that forced Joe Biden out and put Kamala Harris in. Clooney said that Biden saved democracy in 2020 and could save it again by stepping aside. Imagine that kind of hubris, to believe Joe Biden had the power to save democracy, and that somewhere deep inside, George Clooney believed he could save it too. What they mean is to save their empire, to preserve their power. What they knew and when they knew it. In May 2019, I stood 5 feet from Joe Biden at a fundraiser, plucked from online obscurity to be an online Biden influencer. I threw myself into supporting him, just as I had for Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. My father had died of dementia in 2018, and I'd spent every day with him in VA hospice care. I knew the signs of rapid decline all too well. And by the time Biden emerged in the last days of 2020, I was alarmed at how fast he'd declined. He reminded me of my dad. I confided in 2 of my friends that I was worried Biden's age would be a problem. My friends told me Biden could be in a coma and they'd still vote for him. For podcast listeners, a picture. Charlemagne says, "I think Trump is a threat to democracy. I believe he led an attempted coup. I'm voting to preserve democracy." And Bill Maher said, "I'd vote for Biden if his head was in a jar of blue liquid." That's why Joe Biden campaigned from the basement. They all knew. They also knew that they had $1 billion and a foolproof election plot so the system could win the election for them, while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were safely tucked away, hidden from view. Here are videos of Biden's decline.
Was certain that NATO would fracture. I met with him right after being elected president, right after I was sworn in, and we talked about this very issue. In the fall, he decided to, look, I shouldn't get into this probably. It gets me a little excited.
Good Lord, Kristen. Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, these gaffes happen so often now, they hardly even make the news. It's just almost every day, at least multiple times a week.
And increase economic growth. Folks, imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. Back when D-Day occurred, and on Sunday, the next day, my mother's 4 brothers all went down to the recruiting station and joined the military. My Uncle Bosie, he got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea. You've heard me say it before, Wall Street didn't build America, the middle class didn't build America, and you guys built the middle class, unions built it.
The non-denial denial. Today, Axios released some of the audio from the Her report, and it sounds tragic. Biden could not remember the date of his son's death, and his mind rambled off in many different directions. The Her report was dismissed, and he was attacked for telling the truth. And even if this audio had been released, I bet they would have waved it away, and with the help of CNN, the New York Times, MSNBC, and all their good liberal allies online, done what they did for almost 10 years. Keep those plates spinning. Keep the delusion going.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. It's not a mean thing to say. I mean, he just thought that she had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did. And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. If I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, what month did Bo die? May 30th, 2018. Was it 2015 he died?
2015.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think that was
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, why did I have 2017 here?
That's when you left office, January of 2017.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in, then,
Right.
January.
Right. Correct.
Okay, yeah. And in 2017, Bo had passed, and this is personal. The genesis of the book and the title, Promise Me Dad, was I know you're all close with your sons and daughters, but Bo was like my right arm, and that was my left. These guys were a year and a day apart, and they could finish each other's sentences. And Bo, I used to go home on the train in the period that I was still in the Senate. Anyway, do you remember? There was not pressure. Bo knew how much I adored him. And maybe this sounds so, everybody knew how close we were. There was not anybody in the world who wondered whether or not, anyway. And so,
Sir, I'm wondering if this is a good time to take a break. Briefly.
No, let me just keep going to get it done.
When you have them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. Their problem then, like now, was that no one was ever allowed to speak the truth. They lived under constant surveillance by the mob on social media, a mob that all the powerful people obeyed. As a Democrat, you condition yourself to believe the lies, but also to push them out of fear, and because everyone else is pushing them too. As a Democrat, you condition yourself to believe the lies, but also to push them out of fear, and because everyone else is pushing them too. Joe Biden is not too old. Kamala Harris is a great candidate. Hillary Clinton is not corrupt. Bill Clinton was a good husband. John Kerry was a strong candidate. It's just a stutter. We didn't really lose in 2016. It was Russia. We didn't really lose in 2024. It was a close election and there was voter suppression. It was Bernie. It was Ralph Nader. It was James Comey. Trump is a fascist. Trump is a racist. Trump is a rapist. Trump is a Russian asset. Trump is a convicted felon. Trump is Hitler. The truth? Joe Biden should have been chosen in 2016, not Hillary Clinton. But the Obama coalition was not handing over its legacy to a white man. So they went with her, and it blew up in their face. That was a truth no one could accept. So down came the lies about the election and the war on Trump and MAGA. Kamala Harris was not untested. She was tested in the 2020 primary and crashed and burned by a few choice questions from Tulsi Gabbard. Her poll numbers were so bad that she had to drop out rather than ruin her perfect record of no losses. She was chosen rather than the stronger candidates because she was a woman of color, not to mention someone who had been called the female Obama, going all the way back to 2008. Kamala Harris was always the choice. Joe Biden was meant to be the bridge, projecting the face of normalcy, the moderate. The poor old man believed his own publicity. All that age denialism in the press, all those glowing headlines attacking the Her report. They even forgave him for the Afghanistan withdrawal. They covered up for him. They puffed up his confidence. So no wonder he wanted to run. Now they want to blame him. The trick is not minding. During Trump's first term, the purges began. It wasn't just impeaching Trump 2 years into it. It wasn't just demonizing and dehumanizing Trump, his family, his staff, and his supporters. We went after our own, too. What was called cancel culture was, in practice, soft totalitarianism. Anyone could be purged at any time for any reason. The fear was real. They even got rid of Senator Al Franken. People got fired for tweets, even though they were loyal Democrats. Editors and reporters were fired for headlines like Buildings Matter Too. If we'd had a responsible media back then, rather than those who amplified the hysteria every day with a new outrage, functioning as pure propaganda for the Democrats, maybe we would not have gotten to the point where people were afraid to speak the truth. The Me Too movement ruined the lives of hundreds of people who would never get due process. And one of those people was Mark Halperin, one of the best journalists in the business. Now, as he tracks down what he calls the biggest media scandal in American history, I'm reminded of just what the Democrats lost when they purged utopia of the best and brightest, once people started pointing fingers. The Democrats needed a reporter like Halperin to tell them the truth, or even dare try.
But it's this question of accountability, this question of, did reporters do everything they could to hold Joe Biden and his team accountable for his obvious decline? Few interviews, few press conferences, few public appearances. Doing things in public, not every day, but often, that showed obvious mental decline. This wasn't something for insiders to know or whisper about, the terms the cover-up were. But the fact of Biden's decline was not a secret, and the public saw it. So these two guys have now written this book, okay? And their publisher, aware of the criticism that's already come their way, saying, how can you write a book after the election about a cover-up that we all saw with our own eyes during the campaign?
There's a long list. Matt Taibbi, Walter Kern, Yuri Berliner, Barry Weiss, Glenn Greenwald, Donald McNeil, James Bennett, Abigail Schreier, and Megyn Kelly, who not only has snatched up Halperin for MK Media, but also covered the story of Biden's cognitive decline way back in 2022.
We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy.
Last November, the White House physician reported Biden is, quote, fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. But many, including CNN chief medical correspondent Sanjay Gupta, who looked over Mr. Biden's medical report, noted it did not seem to include a cognitive test.
They mentioned neurological exam, but that was more in terms of testing motor strength and sensation and things like that. President Trump had something known as the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. It's sort of a screening test for dementia. And, there was no mention of that sort of thing here.
In February, Congressman Ronnie Jackson, who served as White House physician under Presidents Trump and Obama, sent a letter to Mr. Biden stating, quote, your mental decline and forgetfulness have become more apparent over the past 2 years. Among other examples, the letter pointed to the moment when the president forgot the name of the Pentagon and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin.
I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there.
Congressman Jackson is calling for the president to take a cognitive test and to release the results publicly.
Dr. O'Connor spent 6 pages talking about useless stuff that no one cares about and did not address the elephant in the room, which is this man cognitively fit to be our president?
In a recent New York Magazine article about Democrats quietly searching for an alternative to Joe Biden in 2024, top aides claim the president has, quote, shown no signs of slowing down mentally. It's just his falling poll numbers they're worried about. And Mr. Biden himself has dismissed concerns when directly asked about this issue.
Why do you suppose such large segments of the American electorate have profound concerns about your cognitive fitness?
I have no idea.
He has held few press conferences and only occasionally takes questions, and he's often holding pre-prepared cue cards for himself. His last formal sit-down interview with a news organization was in February. And when the president approached the press at this year's White House Easter egg roll, an aide dressed as the Easter Bunny ran interference, moving the president away from the reporters, and he listened. When the president does go off script, his comments can have major foreign policy consequences. In an out-of-the-blue ad-libbed remark at the end of a speech in March, Mr. Biden shocked the world when he said Russian President Vladimir Putin should be removed.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Forcing top White House aides to immediately, quote, clarify the president's comment. People like Senator Rand Paul say the fact that this president cannot clearly communicate U.S. foreign policy goes right to the heart of this issue.
Well, you know, a lot of times when you're around somebody who's in cognitive decline, you find yourself trying to help them with the sentence, trying to help them complete it and saying, oh, no, that's not what you really mean. Let me help you complete the sentence. But we shouldn't have to do that for the commander-in-chief, and it is actually a national security risk.
Most of us have moved on without them for our survival's sake. We could not listen anymore to their unending obsession, their fatal attraction to push out the version of Trump they needed to be true, and the version of Joe Biden that they so desperately wanted to be true. As for the Democrats, they destroyed themselves trying to destroy Trump, because all that meant was that they kicked the can down the road and they never fixed themselves. They didn't do the one thing they would need to do to win: offer the people something better. Thank you for listening to my podcast, sashastone.substack.com. This Sunday, I will be going on a road trip across the country to see my daughter for her birthday. I will still be posting and podcasting. I also might do a travel log, which I will offer up as a perk to paid subscribers on the Substack. So if you have donated or paid in some other way, please let me know so that I can mark you down in case you want to read those, if I can actually get my act together to do them. And thank you for being such a supportive audience. Thank you for the comments on X, the nice letters that you send, the DMs. I don't always have time to get back to them because I never seem to have enough time in the day. But thank you for that, and thank you for the support. It means the world to me, it really does. And remember, to thine own self be true. Have a great weekend.
And we'll walk down the avenue again. And we'll walk down the avenue again when the healing has begun. And we'll walk down the avenue in style. And we'll walk down the avenue and we'll smile. And we'll sing, baby, it all worth healing has begun. When the healing has begun. I want you to put on your pretty summer dress, yeah. You can wear your Easter bonnet, Sunday clothes, and all the rest. And I want to make love to you, yes, yeah, yes, yeah. When the healing has begun.